CKY Sports. Nobody brings you more of the action that really counts. When the boys of summer gather for the 1985 All-Star Game, you'll see it live on CKY. The American League against the National. The best pitchers, the hardest hitters, Golden Glove fielders in a midsummer classic. The 1985 All-Star Game, Tuesday at 7, only on CKY. Major League stars, Major League coverage. CKY Sports. Nobody brings you more of the action that really counts.
Lights, camera, action. Tuesdays, 10 o'clock action. Cover up.
But I set the rules. Is that understood?
You got it.
He does know who's boss, doesn't he?
Now, what's all this talk about me being a model?
It's your cover.
I'm not a model, and I'm not going out there.
Jack is dressed for action.
Where have all the good men gone, and where are all the guns?
Tomorrow at 7:30, the legendary story of King Arthur, Excalibur, on CKY.
Now there's a diet drink that tastes even better than Diet 7-Up. Tastes even crisper and cleaner than Diet 7-Up. What is it? An even better tasting Diet 7-Up.
Ooh, that refreshing taste. Oh, so crisp, so clear. That refreshing taste. Diet 7-Up, it's new, it's here.
Refreshing taste. Now the best is even better.
Double hamburger, double cheeseburger.
All right!
Double hamburgers and double cheeseburgers are on special at McDonald's.
Doubles are fantastic.
A double hamburger with 2 100% pure Canadian beef patties for just $1.09. Or a double cheeseburger with 2 beef patties and 2 slices of processed cheese for just $1.29.
Now that is a good taste.
And that is a good price.
Good time for the great taste of double.
I've waited so long.
Better hurry. They won't be around at these prices for long.
CKY Provincial News Unit tracked all types of news this winter in all kinds of weather. In Thompson, horse owners who love to ride. In Dauphin, snow which threatened to bury the town. In Spruce Woods, sled dogs at 33 below. And all across our province, the journey for lives. Larry Keat and Glenn Nickel filed more than 75 reports this winter and pushed their cruiser past 170,000 kilometers. For the summer, the search for news continues, hopefully in better weather, and definitely with a brand new cruiser. The CKY Provincial News Unit, absolutely more contact with Manitoba.
From the 4 corners of the globe, CTV's W5 keeps you in touch with our ever-changing world. I'm Jim Reed. In each edition, our W5 team brings you the responsible journalism and integrity that's become a trademark of W5. Whether I'm in Central America or Europe, there's a dedicated news operation at home working together to assemble Canada's longest-running television magazine. W5, part of the CTV News team.
About Tide, we asked Susan Smith if she could.
I told them with a son like Andrew around, that's easy. There he is at it again, pretending he's digging to China. He may be pretending, but that dirt is very real. You can see why I need a detergent like Tide that really works. When he's finished playing, his clothes have had it. What's more, the label says wash in cold water. No problem for Tide. Even using cold water, his shirt and pants look terrific. Even here on the legs, the dirt's gone. Now that's cleaning. Hot water or cold, I know Tide'll do the job and do it right.
You can trust Tide to get clothes clean.
Lucky for Andrew.
Hi, Mom. Ever since Duncan Hines chocolate chip cookies came to town, everyone's singing.
Crispy, chewy, crispy, chewy. Yummy Duncan Hines is crispy, chewy. Tastes great like my mom's does. The only one that's so much fun. The yummy one that tastes like mom's does.
Duncan Hines chocolate chip cookies in a bag. They taste like Mom's. Here's why. Most packaged store-bought cookies are hard, but Duncan Hines tastes crispy outside, soft and chewy inside, like homemade, loaded with real chocolate chips.
The yummy one that tastes like Mom's does.
Duncan Hines chocolate chip cookies in a bag. Crispy, chewy.
Great-looking hair is Head & Shoulders hair, because Head & Shoulders gives you You get all the dandruff control Head & Shoulders is famous for in a shampoo that's gentle on your hair. Rich, gentle Head & Shoulders helps control dandruff and leaves your hair looking great. So you know it's good for your hair. Like an apple a day. Head & Shoulders every time.
Dandruff care is good for your hair. Rocky, sit. Rocky, roll over. Come on, Rocky, speak. Give him the chews and chunks.
Introducing new Purina Chews and Chunks. Just add warm water for moist, mouth-watering chews. Hard, crunchy chunks, all covered in a rich brown broth.
Okay, Rocky, chews and chunks. Good dog.
New Purina Chews and Chunks. Irresistible. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. It's a new morning. It's a good time for two new tastes. Come on, give them a try. A fresh new breakfast made McDonald's way on buttermilk biscuits, fresh every day. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. Take a big bite. A fresh baked biscuit, tender and light. Or sausage and egg, that's two new tastes. So come into McDonald's for a change of pace. New breakfast biscuits. 'Cause it's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Welcome to the biggest sale in Dodge truck history. Special discounts of $400 on light-duty pickups and Ram Chargers right across Canada, plus Prospector package discounts for total savings of up to $1,781. And that's over and above the Dodge 580, Canada's best truck warranty. Why do we keep reaching higher and higher in our best year yet? Because you're the one who made it best. Thank you. Thank you, Canada.
Each time you go shopping, you want unbeatable overall low prices. So come to Safeway, and when you do, pick up some Old Dutch potato chips, assorted flavors in the 200-gram box. For the lunch crowd, stock up on Gold Seal pink salmon in the 227-gram tin. And for baking day, choose 5 Roses flour, whole wheat, all-purpose, or unbleached. If you're looking for unbeatable overall low prices, it doesn't make sense to shop anywhere else.
Safeway, working hard to be your favorite food store.
Right now, there's one place in town where $1 is worth more, a whole lot more, because Dollar Days are on now at Zellers. No matter where you turn throughout the store, you'll find aisle after aisle of items you use every day at incredible Dollar Days prices. Like celebrity bath towels, just $5 each. And these ever-ready transistor batteries, your choice, $1 each. So take advantage of the savings and get to Zellers before Dollar Days are over. Zellers, only you'll know how little you paid.
Smile, I could tell you just how much I love my Vittles, tender Vittles.
If I could smile, I could show you just how much I want my Vittles. If I could smile.
Purina puts real beef, real tuna, or real chicken into every tender little Vittle. That's why tender Vittles cats are smiling on the inside.
If I could smile.
What's cold as ice goes down so nice. Yes, it's Labatt's Lite, and it tastes just right. Yes, it's perfectly clear. It's all you want in a beer. Tastes smooth and light, and it goes down so right, so nice, so right. Yes, it's Labatt's Lite.
For children. Top guns at Midas have been in the muffler business for 25 years in Canada. We're celebrating our silver anniversary with the Great Quicksilver Giveaway. You could get a fistful of silver off your muffler job, just like that. Maybe even get it done free. And you could win up to $25,000 in silver. But you gotta be fast like a top gun, because the Midas Quicksilver Giveaway isn't gonna last forever.
The Romans had a name for it. La Dolce Vita, the good life. A Roman meal is a part of it, with the goodness of grain. Roman wheat berry, 100% whole grain. Bran and honey, white sesame, 100% cracked wheat, and 7 grain. Try them all. The Roman meal family. Now baked right here and sold exclusively at your neighborhood Safeway. However, there is still, after all these years, the original flavor of A&W.
Beat of a generation is pounding. Got to get down before the magic gets away. Helps it feel so right. Dancing till the sun shines. Just lift it high. Helps it feel so right. Helps it feel so right.
At first glance, the all-new 86 Mazda B2000 may look expensive, but at $76.75, it's still the lowest priced truck in Canada with all these standard features. A no-cost 3-year service protection plan, steel-belted radios, a 5-speed, even an AM/FM stereo, and now a roomier cab and a level of ride and handling unprecedented in its class, all for only $76.75. Once again, Mazda sets the standard.
Breakaway, a new candy bar from Roundtree in 2 pieces. So delicious with its pure milk chocolate. So tempting with its crispy wafer and chewy caramel. Just try and resist the second piece. We don't think you can for very long. Breakaway. How long can you go before you eat the second piece?
John Labatt, brewmaster, craftsman. His work a reflection of his character. Now, over 100 years later comes John Labatt Classic. Pure beer, Kreuzen brewed, the way he brewed it, in small batches using 100% barley malt. For here is one of the longest aged beers in the world, which, because of the man, is brewed without compromise. John Labatt Classic.
Introducing TLO, a new premium motor oil from Shell. High-performance technology with a breakthrough formulation using the unique additive Shellbus 50. Delivers top engine protection in winter cold and summer heat. TLO for top engine protection.
Discover the many sides of Co-op. You'll find service and savings on housewares, hardware, do-it-yourself wear, tools, sporting goods, everything you need. Co-op's Spring Savings event is the place to shop for all your household needs. WD-40 penetrating oil for anything that sticks or squeaks, now $2.37. 3M contact cement, the dependable multi-purpose adhesive, is sale price now at $4.99 for a 1-liter can. Save on Duracells, the copper top batteries, now priced starting at just $2.69 a package. Co-op, yours for value, yours for service.
This has been the CKY 10 o'clock action. Tomorrow, the judge searches for his long-lost father on Hardcastle and McCormick.
GM dealers carry new GM engine oil for do-it-yourselfers because it's made to GM's high standards for factory fill. Now you can change for the better. Need the 1-liter resealable, 4-liter resealable, 1-liter can? We got it. Need genuine GM brake fluid, transmission fluid, carburetor cleaner? We got it. Need genuine GM coolant, windshield washer fluid, fabric cleaner? We got it. Made right, priced right. Parts to go at your GM dealer.
Le candlelight, le musique, le flowers, le menu. Oh, le menu. Le breast of chicken parmigiana, succulent and tender with zesty tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese. Delightful. Le green beans Italian, le fettuccine Alfredo. Very Alfredo. New le menu dinners, an elegant way to dine at home. Le menu for people who like fine food.
Yes, you can. Measure up with the Fibre Trim reducing plan. Shape up. Eat right. Take Fibre Trim. Take off weight gradually. Keep it off for good. Fibre Trim. A weight loss aid made of natural source fiber. It works. The Fibre Trim plan. Measure up.
Everybody said stick 'em was the key to my football success. Yeah, sure. But if I could touch it, I could catch it. Stick 'em or no stick 'em. Like I was one of the first to catch on that Miller Lite is brewed right here in Canada. Lite tastes great, and it tastes less filling. So if you're like me, when something great comes along, you stick to it. I mean, with it.
Light beer from Miller, now brewed in Canada. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Get ready for the 1985 Kiwanis TV auction. Help the Kiwanis help others in our community. The Kiwanis TV auction, Saturday, 8 to 6 on CKY.
The CTV National News with Lloyd Robertson.
Good evening. Most of that contaminated stretch of the Trans-Canada Highway in northwestern Ontario was open today. Only small sections of it were still being treated for last weekend's spill of poisonous PCB chemicals. The PCBs leaked from a transformer aboard a transport truck near Kenora. But while the highway is open, the matter is far from closed, especially for one very upset family. Alec Docking reports.
This 1984 Toyota in a hazardous waste compound south of Winnipeg is covered in toxic PCBs at a level many times above safe limits. Lloyd Ailofson, his pregnant wife Lori, and their two sons were driving the car from Red Lake, Ontario to Winnipeg last Saturday when they noticed a wet black stripe stretching down the highway and a pungent smell in the air. Soon they were directly behind this transport truck carrying transformers.
And then every time he hit a bump or went around a sharp corner, it just sprayed off or just come shooting out the side of the middle part of the trailer section. And it just covered the highway and, well, covered our car.
He confronted the driver at a Kenora truck stop.
And then I walked up to him and I asked, I says, yeah, you guys got a leak. I says, it's been leaking for the last 35 miles or more. And you know, it sprayed all over our car and everything. I says, what is this stuff? He says, well, there's nothing to worry about. He says, it's just mineral oil.
But it wasn't mineral oil. In Winnipeg, Ailofson discovered the contamination was PCBs. Environment officials promptly impounded the car. Now he doesn't know what threat there is to his family's health. They are awaiting results of blood tests. He doesn't especially want his car back. He does want the company involved, Kinetic Ecological Group, to compensate him immediately. But he fears the matter will be tied up in the courts for years. His weekend trip to Winnipeg has turned into a nightmare.
Here we are, you know, we got a brand new car, and now we're stuck with no car.
Alec Docking, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The PCBs were being transported by truck from Quebec to Alberta via Kenora. In Quebec City today, one of the senior officials in the Environment Ministry said that the company which was moving the PCBs may have deceived his ministry.
And they confirm in writing that all 4 transformers were empty. And in fact, it proved that one of them was not.
Are they liable under the law now because of this?
You mean in Quebec? Well, in Quebec, they have a permit for transportation, and they are they may lose this permit.
And RCMP officers have seized 2 boxes containing PCBs in Toronto. The boxes were being shipped by air from the site of last weekend's spill near Kenora, but they had been improperly labeled and sent on a passenger flight. Ronald Reagan sparked a new outcry today over one of his worst political blunders. The U.S. president was speaking once again of his plan to visit a German military cemetery. In doing so, he seemed to equate the soldiers buried there with the victims of Nazi death camps. We have more from Craig Oliver.
Reagan aides have been working desperately to get the president out of trouble over the German Army cemetery visit. But when Reagan spoke to a group of reporters visiting the White House, he compared SS troops and concentration camp inmates. It was an astonishing gaffe that has put him in even deeper trouble.
I think that there's nothing wrong with visiting that cemetery where those young men are victims of Nazism also, even though they were fighting in the German uniform, drafted into service to carry out the hateful wishes of the Nazis. They were victims just as surely as the victims in the concentration camps.
And Reagan said this about why he wouldn't call off the visit.
All it would do is leave me looking as if I caved in the face of some unfavorable attention.
There was a lot more unfavorable attention at a ceremony on Capitol Hill. Holocaust survivors were honoring 10 American Army units who liberated their camps. Their spokesman, Elie Wiesel, appealed directly to Secretary of State George Shultz, who was seated in the audience.
Have our policy planners, Mr. Secretary, forgotten what SS stands for? Be our emissary. Tell those who need to know that our pain is genuine, our outrage deep, and our perplexity infinite.
The original motive in all of this was to avoid embarrassing America's West German allies by reviving the ghosts of its Nazi past. But that's exactly what's happened. And in the process, President Reagan now risks losing the enormous goodwill of American Jews and veterans, both of whom have supported him strongly. Craig Oliver, CTV News, Washington.
Resentment over Reagan's remarks has boiled over into Israel. The media there have bitterly criticized Reagan's planned cemetery visit. And Prime Minister Perez alluded to it by saying one could be reconciled with former enemies, but not with evil. All across Israel today, air raid sirens wailed and the country came to a standstill for 2 minutes of silence. It was the annual commemoration of the murder of 6 million Jews in World War II. There was a brash takeover bid today of the CBS network in the United States. It came from Ted Turner, the entrepreneur and yachtsman who owns Cable News Network. Turner says he is acting on his own, but a group of conservatives called Fairness in Media says it will back him. Its members charge CBS News with liberal bias. As Turner's long-rumored bid materialized, the financial community was not altogether impressed. Mike Jensen reports.
Today, Ted Turner made it official. He's trying to buy up control of CBS for almost $3 billion by asking CBS shareholders to trade their stock for a mixed package of securities.
We have decided to attempt to have the shareholders of CBS decide for themselves whether they would like to have Turner Broadcasting acquire control of CBS.
The big problem in this takeover attempt, according to financial experts, is that Ted Turner is not offering cash to CBS shareholders. He's offering something called junk bonds.
Junk bonds are the exact opposite of blue chip securities. The kind of junk bonds being offered by Ted Turner pay much more in interest and dividends than CBS stock, and that's what makes them attractive for the short haul. But the gimmick is that money comes right out of CBS's earnings and could put the company in the red. It might have to sell off some of its properties to make the interest payments. So the short-term benefit could turn into a big long-term problem. Wall Street was skeptical. CBS stock fell more than $3.50 today after dropping more than $6 yesterday when details of the takeover attempt began to leak out. Most analysts don't think Turner can pull it off. But not all the experts think he's fighting a losing battle.
Wall Street operates on a greed motive, basically, and there might be a 60% chance that could go.
As Turner left with the pot boiling, CBS was trying to figure out a defense. But no matter what CBS does, Turner still has to win approval from the Federal Communications Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission. He may have to get by the Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission, and even Congress might get into the act. The battle for CBS has just begun. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
The Bank of Canada rate tumbled to 9.75% today. That's down a half percentage point from last week, and the 6th week in a row the rate has fallen. Prime rates were tumbling just as fast at the 5 major chartered banks. Effective tomorrow, the lending rate to the bank's best customers will be 10.75%. It's the first time since 1978 that the prime has fallen below 11%. The declines are in response to poor economic news from the United States. First quarter growth was much worse than expected, and monetary authorities are reluctant to let interest rates rise because of the dampening effect that would have on the recovery. Because of the economic news, the U.S. dollar fell and the Canadian dollar climbed. The Canadian dollar closed at 74.12, its highest level in 2 months. The Edmonton-based Canadian Commercial Bank had to be rescued again today. The Bank of Canada stepped in with an undisclosed amount said to be in the hundreds of millions. The money was needed because the bank's credit ratings had been severely downgraded. Just last month, the federal and Alberta governments and several major banks put up $255 million to bail out Canadian Commercial. The federal government had to scramble today to downplay a cabinet document which had been leaked. The report calls for sharply reduced funding to native groups. And despite the Prime Minister's assurances that the funding will continue, the report has got the native groups worried. Roger Smith has the story.
Prime Minister Mulroney sided with native groups 2 weeks ago, but a task force headed by Deputy Prime Minister Eric Nielsen seems to do just the opposite. It proposed virtually gutting the Indian Affairs Department by budget cuts and by shifting federal responsibilities to the provinces, a move staunchly opposed by native groups.
I read that in the paper. It's going to go to the cabinet. Do you know anything about it? No.
Have you read it? Mulroney moved quickly to end the cabinet confusion and rescue his credibility with native groups. He issued a statement that seemed to reject the most controversial proposals and budget cuts.
And the principles that I laid out at the Aboriginal conference, and I think the manner in which I conducted myself on behalf of the government speaks for our commitment in that area. That's the policy of the government.
That satisfied Crombie.
Oh, I still have a department.
But not the opposition.
It demonstrates, I believe, the hidden agenda of this government. And
some good recommendations and some bad ones, and we'll just make sure that the good ones, which are consistent with the government's policy and way of approaching Aboriginal peoples, we'll support those, and those which are not, we won't.
But despite the reassurances from the Mulroney government, native leaders are worried.
Out of one corner of his mouth, he says one thing, and then his deputy prime minister is saying another.
It confirms our worst fears.
The Nielsen task force, made up of business and labor leaders, combed all federal spending to find ways to chop the deficit. So beyond native programs, there could be a lot more controversial spending cuts in the rest of the still secret report. Roger Smith, CTV News, Ottawa.
The simple screwdriver does not always lead the simple life. That's why Canadian Tire sells Mastercraft screwdrivers. And we're so sure Mastercraft brand screwdrivers are made to last, they're guaranteed forever. Just like all our Mastercraft tools. And nobody guarantees tools for longer than that.
Max, you gotta leave these tools alone. Max, you put a scratch in it.
Mastercraft tools from Canadian Tire. They're guaranteed forever.
Now you can take a Macintosh business computer to your business for a free test drive. It'll blow your mind.
One can grow coffee in many countries, but it is special when it grows in Colombia, for it grows in our high mountains in rich volcanic soil, through warm, sunny days and soft, moist nights. No coffee grows like the 100% Colombian that is handpicked by men such as Juan Valdez. When you see these words on the package, you will enjoy the richest coffee in the world.
Introducing the strongest garbage bag Glad has ever made. You'll notice Glad bags are better than ever by the kind of abuse they'll take. So when you want to get your garbage to the curb, Glad makes sure it gets there every time. With Glad, the strength is in the bag.
The Mulroney government says it wants a hard look at whether Canada should participate in the American Star Wars research program. It is sending a team of experts to Washington to examine the implications. But the announcement in Ottawa today caught a few people off guard. Pamela Wallen reports.
It was a surprise appointment, so much so that the appointee didn't know anything about it. The Prime Minister announced a senior civil servant would head a team to study the merits of Canada's involvement in Star Wars research.
An impartial public servant.
Outside the House, External Affairs Minister Clark confirmed the appointment.
The Cabinet took the decision this morning.
CTV called Arthur Kroger, the man named to head the study, but nobody had told him about his new job. After a hurried briefing, he'd learned a few details.
I'll have to get guidance on whether we are to look at economic factors, but the job of the team will be to provide analysis and advice to ministers so that they can make a judgment about which way to go on this subject.
The longtime civil servant has worked on defense and military matters, but not recently. This is the latest embarrassment for Clark. Just last month, he denied Canada had been invited to participate in research, even though Canada's own defense minister had earlier confirmed the request. The U.S. wants an answer by May, so pressure is mounting from the opposition and even from conservatives.
By golly, if we're going to get involved with it, we better get off our butt and do it pretty soon. And if we're not going to get involved with it, I think the government owes an explanation to the Canadian public to tell us, and to tell us pretty soon.
No one knows when the government will have its answer. This new team is expected to meet with American officials as early as next week. But Star Wars is a complicated and politically sensitive question, and Ottawa may not have the information it wants to meet the American May deadline. Pamela Wallen, CTV News, Ottawa.
The Space Shuttle Discovery is wrapping up a week-long mission and is scheduled to land tomorrow morning at Cape Canaveral. The crew held an in-flight press conference today to talk about their experiences during the past week. The astronauts successfully launched the Canadian communications satellite Annex C-1 last Friday. The next day, an American military satellite was launched, but failure of the antenna to deploy rendered it useless. Former Manitoba Premier Walter Weir died today of a heart attack at the age of 56. Weir was Conservative Premier for 2.5 years in the late 1960s. In his only bid to be re-elected, he was defeated by Ed Schreier's New Democratic Party. When a university in Cape Breton advertised a single job opening, it was overwhelmed by the response. It was decided that the only fair way to pick a winner from the numerous candidates was to hold a raffle for the job. More from Mark Gage.
Jobs are very scarce in Cape Breton. Unemployment hovers at about 25%. So it was no surprise when hundreds applied for just one job in the university's mailroom. Most candidates qualified for the job, so the university decided the only way to cope with all of the applications was to pull 10 names out of a box and pick the best candidate. In Halifax, more than 1,000 people applied for about 300 jobs at a new hotel. The selection process here was much more conventional than in Cape Breton. Inside, the wait was long.
5:28, 5:29, and 5:30. Please proceed to the waiting.
Several hours in many cases, but everyone eventually was interviewed.
I'm Rich Foney. How you doing? Please have a seat.
But in a tight job market, employers have the advantage of picking the cream of the crop.
We are finding quite a number of people with college educations applying, but I'm happy for that because that's exactly the type of person that we want to hire.
Even a degree is little help for those with no training in the hotel business.
Can't find any teaching jobs, so I've been here for 5 hours waiting, hopefully to get a job through this.
Going after a job here is a little like playing the lottery. The odds are stacked against you. By the time the process is complete, about 2,000 people will have been interviewed. In this case, that means there is just one job for every 6 applicants. And the immediate future does not indicate those odds getting any better. Mark Gage, CTV News, Halifax.